Let's make sure it's recording. Okay, I think we're good to go. I think we're officially ready. So today we're talking about 3 ways to stay energized on the way to your income goal. The reason I'm doing this Facebook Live is this week's podcast is Make Bank with Your Base Income. And if you haven't listened to that episode yet, you've got to check out that podcast episode, because that concept, if you've never heard of creating a base income goal in your business, it's going to blow your mind. Because about, I would say, like half a year into my business, when I realized, right, that I needed to be dividing my income goal, not just having like this blanket random number. So often when we pick an income goal, it can feel like really random, right? And I think that's what makes it hard to hit it. But when you pick a base income number, a base income goal number, and then a supplemental income goal number, it's a game changer. So check out that podcast episode. And today I want to dive a little bit further and talk about something different but related, and that is staying energized on the way to your income goal, right? Because I think there's a lot of talk in the online space about creating these crazy income goals, but there's not as much talk about like, okay, what do we do in the gap between, there's this gap, right? Us setting a goal in our business, right? Growing our email list, growing our Facebook group, hitting 10K months, right? We make the goal signing 3 clients. But then there's this period, right, where it almost feels like you're alone probably, and like the whole internet is ghosting on you as you're actually going to hit that goal, as you're going to, obviously for everyone, there's like, it's like that messy middle period, right? When we set the goal of I want to have 3 clients, but there's that tension of knowing and believing that you're going to sign those 3 clients, but also knowing that it's not here yet. The reality isn't here, right? So how do we stay in that belief long enough? And here's the most important part, not self-sabotage in the process. So if you're joining me live, please say hello to me. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Or if you're catching the replay, please say hello. I would love to say hi to you. But let's talk about that gap, right? Because it's not very sexy to talk about that gap, but I actually think that's where like the genius is made, right? My aunt has this quote that she says that I love, and she says like, integrity is what we do when no one is watching, right? And I really feel like a sustainable, impactful, right? For me, I was just interviewed this week and they asked me like, what's a heart-centered business, right? I really feel like a heart-centered business is where, of course, you're ethical and honest and all those things, but beyond that, right, you really desire to make money, because as a heart-centered entrepreneur, with more money, you're just going to make more impact, right? The causes you already donate to, you're just going to give more money to, right? But it also means, as a heart-centered entrepreneur, that you actually care about your customer, you care about your client, you care about the experience that they're having, and you're showing up 100% for them. And as you guys are watching this, you're probably like, well, duh. Like, how could I not show up for my clients 100%, right? But I think we forget that's what makes us unique, right? And so really owning that and remembering that and appreciating that about yourself. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about the sustainability part. So I have 3 practical ways that you can really take care of yourself, again, in that tension between when something, the idea, the inspiration, the goal has formed, and then when it happens, right? Holding that belief. And first, I just want to normalize it, right? And realizing that that's normal. It's normal between the goal being set and the goal happening to have ups and downs on the way, right? Like you've probably seen the illustrations where like we think it's going to look like this on the way to our goal, but it more looks like this. But I actually think that's normal, right? And I just want to say this about income too. Like if you look at the income I've made over the past 4 years of my business, it has definitely grown in the last 4 years steadily, but it doesn't mean that every single month I've made more money. Does that make sense? It's normal for there to be some variance in your business, right? I mean, just variable. For me, I have different launches, right? For me, sometimes a client will pay in full, right? For me, sometimes a client doesn't pay in full and they sign up for a payment plan, and so I think like when we really obsess over, what, and that was like a money example, but when we obsess over, the micro and don't look at the macro, I think that's where we can get really lost, right? And so really asking yourself, okay, over time, am I growing? Over time, same thing with like your email list, right? I gain email list subscribers, I lose them. Same thing with my Facebook group, right? But over time, are you expanding? Are you growing, right? That's the question. Okay, so I basically have 3, they're almost like boundaries that have been really, really helpful for me. In my business that I feel like have really sustained me as I've gone on the way. Because I think sometimes like, okay, so we set a goal, right? Sign 3 clients. I'll use that example. And I think on the way to that goal, when something that we try doesn't work, right? Let's say you're doing discovery calls and like the first discovery call you ever have, it doesn't convert. We tell ourselves the story of, oh, discovery calls must not work for me. I must try something else, right? And I think, we can get wishy-washy and we can sabotage and distract ourselves when we don't have good boundaries. And so I wanted to share with you 3 boundaries that are going to revolutionize your energy on the way to whatever goal you're headed towards. So first, I want you to let me know in the comments what goal you're working on, right? What goal are you moving towards? If you don't know, like reach out and get help, like message me, right? But that's what's most important is that clarity, right? Getting really clarity on what you want. And that's why in so many of my programs, like we start with that, like Invisible Impact, it's getting clear on why do you want to get visible? Like maybe you want to grow a platform. Which platform do you want to grow, right? Maybe you want to sell out a program, right? Same thing in Sell with Heart. What's your sales goal, right? Having massive clarity is so much of the battle, right? So do that. But this kind of is assuming that you've already gotten clarity. So let's pretend for a second you're like locked in on your goal. You already know it. You know you want to fill that group program. You know you want to sell out your course. You know you want to get 5 one-on-one clients. You know you want to whatever it is, sell 50 of your jewelry, right? You want to sell out your, next launch. You're locked in on the goal, right? So now what I'm going to suggest to you is 3 specific like energetic boundaries that's going to help you in the time that it takes to make it happen. Maybe it's going to be 1 week, maybe it's going to be 5 weeks. If you missed that, I think it was a podcast episode. Make sure you check that one out too. I'll find it and link it for you. But where I talk about really being committed to something and being able to say, hey, whether it takes me 2 days to sell out these 3 one-on-one spots or 3 months, I don't care, but I am so locked in on this goal, I'm going to make it happen, right? And for a lot of people, it feels like, well, I don't want to take 3 months to sell out my one-on-one, right? But when you give yourself permission, and that's what I did at the start of my business, I gave myself permission and I said, hey, I'm going to sell out my one-on-one no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes me. It actually happened really quickly, right? When we detach, we stop attaching to a certain timeline. Okay, so let's say you've already done that, right? You've already set the goal, you're locked in on it, you're determined, you're so clear, right? And you are doing your mindset work, you're committed on that goal, you're detached from the timeline, right? Here's the next piece. Okay, I'm just gonna say the 3 boundaries and then I'm gonna dive in a little more. Okay, number 1, charging enough to wait for the right client so that you can show up and deliver without any resentment. That's one boundary. You may not think that pricing has anything to do with boundaries, but it sure does. Number 2, having social media boundaries. For example, having notifications turned off on your phone. Don't get me started on that one, but I'm going to go into that today. Number 3, staying in your zone and using team members, software, outsourcing, draining activities that you need to. Okay, so let's go into this because I really feel like these little fine nuanced things is what's helped me sustain my energy in my business, right? I think people ask me, Anna, how do you stay consistent online, right? And really, I don't think they think they're asking this, but really what they're asking is, Anna, like even in the ups and downs of business, even between when you set a goal and it hasn't happened yet, how are you still staying consistently inspired, right? How are you staying consistently motivated? And this is so much of it. Okay, so I want you to think about this for your business. Number 1, are you charging enough? Is it time for a price bump, right? So that, and what does this have to do with sustainability in your business? When you're charging enough for your services, right, you're not going to mind waiting a little bit longer, right? You're not going to mind being a little more choosy to wait for the right client. And I think sometimes we feel selfish, when we think through being choosy or picky about the people we work with, but honestly, it's a benefit for them too, because if you sign on someone that is not a fit for you, that is not a match, it's not a benefit to them either, right? And so let's stop feeling like there's something wrong with really being clear on who we want to work with and being shameless about that. And this is the person that can best help, best support, and get the best results, right? Because I think it helps on the front end with that marketing, but I think it also helps with when you show up and deliver without any resentment. I show up big time for my clients. If you're a group client of mine or a one-on-one client of mine, I'm so attentive and so supportive. And I think people ask me like, Anna, how are you able to like be that responsive and there for me as a client? And the thing is, I charge enough. I charge enough, right? I charge enough where it feels great. It feels abundant. And often if you're feeling bitter or resentful about the work you're doing for a client, ask yourself, are you charging enough, and or do you need a boundary, right? Like a lot of times for my done for you clients, like designers, if someone is asking you to do something outside of what you've agreed to, you can always add on a service. You can be like, you know what? I would love to support you on this. Let's hop on a call to talk about adding on that piece, right? And I'll give you a quote for it or whatever. And so I really feel like if you are feeling any level of bitterness or resentfulness with your clients, really ask yourself, am I charging enough? Am I having good boundaries, right? And I tell people this all the time. You get to choose when you put your client calls, right? You get to choose if you like to support your clients with Voxer via voice or with email via written, right? That's the stuff that you get to choose, right? And I get that we also want to honor our clients and where they're at and what they jive with, but I also think we need to make sure that we're picking platforms and times and all those things that make us excited to show up, right? Because I know that I'm the best coach when I'm able to give written feedback. That's why I provide Basecamp for my clients, right? Or like in a private Facebook group, like I know that I'm the best coach and they're going to get the best of me, my clients, when I'm doing written feedback, right? That may not be the case for you. Maybe you love audioing and voice memoing, but I think it's really giving yourself permission, right, to charge enough and have those right boundaries. I mean, this is the case for the sales process too, not just when someone's a client, right? But really asking yourself, how do I like to do sales? How do I like to close sales? Is it on calls? Is it in Messenger, right? What really feels good to me about it? When do I like to take my sales calls, right? Maybe I don't want it. You have no idea how many women that I've asked them, when do you put your discovery calls and when do you want to have them? And then they're like, oh yeah, I can pick that. Right? And this is where we need to drop the boundaries and the regulations and the rules that we put on ourselves around business, right? Where we tell ourselves, I started this business so I wouldn't have to work on Saturdays, but I kind of want to work on Saturday mornings because that's when my husband can watch my kids and I like taking the weekdays off, right? So it's like if you want to take sales calls on a Saturday morning, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with that. If you like taking off Wednesdays instead of Saturdays, right? I think just giving yourself permission is such a big part of this. Okay, so that's number one, right? Charging enough, having the right boundaries on our sales process, on our client process, so that it feels really good and enjoyable, right? And if it feels off, something feels off, again, ask yourself afresh, maybe it used to feel aligned to take sales calls 5 days a week, but maybe now it only feels aligned to take them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You get to change that at any point in your business, right? Maybe it used to feel great to, do more sales combos via a DM on Instagram. Maybe now it feels better to move that over to Voxer, right? Continually ask yourself, how do I make sales and my actual client process feel better and better for me? Because again, that's just going to help you convert so much better. Okay, number 2 is having massive social media boundaries. I could do a whole nother episode on this because I actually just brain dump 10 things I do in this area. But one of the best things I do for social media and having it not burn me out and I think people ask me Anna, how do you have the willpower against social media? I don't. Social media is super addictive to me too, right? But some of the things that I've done that have really helped. Number 1, I have all notifications off on my phone. All notifications except for one. Ding, guess what it is? I have PayPal and Stripe notifications turned on my phone. So when someone pays me, I get ding. Otherwise, all notifications besides a text message are turned off on my phone. If you guys don't do this, I normally don't tell you have to do things in your business, but you kind of have to do this if you have an online business, right? You have to be able to turn off the noise. That way you can go in on your terms, right? You can go into Instagram to Facebook on your terms and show up, right? Ideally, when you're in a good mindset and you're ready to give goodness to the world and you're not feeling discouraged, right? Okay, so number 1, you have to have notifications off. If you don't already, literally go do that right now for all your apps. I don't care what they are, everything. I actually have one other app turned on, Chipotle. I forgot about that. So like notifies me when there's like a Chipotle deal. But that like brings me life. Anyone else? Okay, let's have some real talk. Let me know in the comments if you're joining me live. What notifications do you have on that you're like, Anna, I don't care what you say, I'm leaving it on. Chipotle. Like for me, I'm not turning my Chipotle notifications off. That's staying on. Okay. Okay, let me know what yours are below. Change my tune. Another thing is, and I shared this more recently, is I delete my apps, right? And so if you look on my phone, I have like a home screen, and this is actually Marie Kondo's method. I just have 3 folders: my life, business, and money. And then I have like a few core apps like my maps and my photos, right? I have like 4 little apps, and then I have 3 core folders: money, life, and business. She just does life and business, but I added money. And so I have that on one screen. And so when I download Instagram, Vox, or Facebook, it ends up going on the next screen over on my iPhone. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? And so when I'm ready to have like an intentional work period, or my kids come home, or it's the weekend, I delete them off my phone. Absolutely delete them off my phone. And why do I do this? Because I just don't have the willpower. If they're on my phone and I'm bored in the grocery store, I'll go on social media, right? And I'm telling you, I've done this for like probably at least 6 months now, and it's been such a game changer, right? So get those notifications off, delete the app. And I'm telling you, it is such a freeing feeling. If you haven't deleted the app off your phone in a while, and it doesn't take that long to add back on. I add it back on my phone like once or twice a day. Like it's really not that hard, right? It takes about 20 seconds. Like it's not that difficult, right? But what it does is I really feel like, kind of like I've told you guys about my charging station. You guys know I'm obsessed with my little $17 Amazon charging station for my iPhone. But what I think it does when we delete an app is energetically we're saying, we're in charge. Social media is not in charge of us. We're in charge of it. It is a tool that we use for our business. It does not rule our lives, right? And we forget that, right? And so I think deleting it for me like puts it in its place. Same thing with my charging dock. When I put my phone on the charging dock while I'm working, or when I'm with my kids, it's me telling myself, right? It's me building that self-trust and reminding myself, I'm in charge. I'm in charge of technology. Technology is not in charge of me, right? Okay, so that's number 2, is having really good social media boundaries, including having your notifications off, okay? Number 3 is staying in your zone and outsourcing, using team members, using software to limit the draining activities that you do, right? I think in our business, it's okay if there's like parts of your business that aren't your favorite. Like I think there's like a lot of talk on the online space of like everything has to like be easeful and light you up, and like it does. And also there's always like 10% of my business that's hard. But you know what? When I worked a day job, it was like 70% of my business. Right? So I think like it's just giving yourself permission that it's okay. It's normal if some of the challenges in your business are hard, especially as you grow. If you're growing, you're always going to face new challenges. That's a good thing. So if you have some problems in your business right now, you're feeling the edge, feeling, scared as you get visible, feeling scared as you sell. Like, just want to say, in case no one's told you lately, there's nothing wrong with you, that it's hard, right? That being said, over time, we want to minimize the number of activities we're doing that aren't in our zone of genius. And I think so often at the start of our business, we tell ourselves like, oh, I'm not ready to outsource. I'm too newbie to outsource. But I think sooner than you think, you're ready for a VA, right? My first VA, I hired for, I think, 1 or 2 hours a week for the month. And so I don't know, I was paying like less than $200 a month to get VA support at the start, right? And so I told you guys this before, one of my first team members was hiring a college student to come, fold my laundry, And so I think really asking yourself, how am I taking care of myself? You guys know I'm so pumped that I released a new template set this week. The reason that I released those template sets, you guys, a lot of work and energy and intention goes into it. But the reason I released these is because I want to give you the gift of being able to outsource at an amazing rate, right? And so what is this PDF? It's an offer template so that you can go in, have this template that's already been beautifully designed by Ruth Ann, right? So it's this great template, has my strategy behind it. So even if you can't afford to work with me yet, right? Even if you can't afford a brilliant designer, right? You're able to go in, grab a template and get that. When you buy a template in your business, it's a way of outsourcing, right? You're spending, whatever it is, $50, $100, like on a template or whatever. You're saving yourself time, and you tell yourself, well, I could do that, right? I could do that. I could take all day to make it, right? Or I could spend some money to save time, right? And so really look for, how do I use my money strategically to invest in my business in a way that's going to get me a return, right? I still ask myself to that day, I really feel like using my team and growing my amazing team, hi Haley and Trish, I'm so grateful for you, has 100% been the way that I've grown my business over time with burnout. And I think too, at the start of my business, I was nervous about, I did want to grow my Facebook group. I did want to grow, my audience, my client load. I wanted to grow the amount of women I had in each launch, but I was also nervous about, when I do grow my audience, then is it just going to be more work for me? Is it going to be overwhelming? Am I not going to like what I built, right? And that's real, that fear. But I think what I didn't realize is that I could have incredible women helping me in my business behind the scenes, like sharing the load and doing the work with me and brainstorming and supporting me and cheering me on behind the scenes. And you guys, it's been the biggest gift. And I did not know that was possible. And so I just want to remind you, as you grow, certainly there are challenges, but it's been much less dramatic than I made it to be in my, isn't that true, right? I think we have so many fears about, like, what will I look like when I have more money or more resources? But I think, like, we forget how resourceful we are. We forget how resilient we are, right? And that means with hard stuff that comes up, but it also means we're resilient for the good stuff that comes up, right? Are you available for that? I want to ask you, are you available for the good that's going to come into your life in the next year, right? And I think sometimes we're afraid of the good. Sometimes we're more afraid of the good than we are afraid of the bad, right? We're afraid of what the good is. I know for me, I was afraid if my business went so good that it blew up and I made more money, what type of woman, what type of mom would I be making more money? Would I still be available to my kids, right? And so I think, like, I really check in with yourself this week and ask yourself, like, what is it that I'm afraid of if things went really, really good in the next year, right? And I know that that's hard, especially with this year being so wonky, but really ask yourself that. Okay. That's all. I hope this was helpful. I really hope that these 3 energetic tips help you. Let me know if you guys are catching the replay, if you have any questions, any aha moments, and I always ask my clients, if you have any action steps as you listen to that. Again, maybe it's as simple as turning all notifications on your phone off, but turning those PayPal notifications on, right? Maybe it's a simple action, but what I want you to do when you consume my podcast or when you watch my Facebook Live is really challenge yourself to not just consume, right? But set that clear action step, especially bonus points if it's simple. If it's really, really simple. Okay, my loves, let me know your action step, and also make sure tomorrow's the last day to save $20 on the new template set. And you guys, I'm so excited because now that I actually have 2 templates, my team created a template shop. So I officially, if you go to annafranzen.com/templates, check it out, people. I don't know why it felt so great. I finally have like a template shop. So I have 2 templates that you can pick from. And I'm telling you, these are both amazing templates in your business. The social media templates I released in March, and that gives you over 70 social media graphics in the client converting content method I teach in Visible Impact. So it's like a sneak peek into my Visible Impact program. And so it helps you create content that is engaging, authority, authenticity, sales, all of my framework. And then the one that I just released, today is the offer template. And so what that does, as you guys know in my business, so many of my sold out group programs and courses I've done with really simple sales, and I just created a PDF that I shared with people via social media and via email. So what I did is my team and I created a PDF. Hi, thank you for hanging out with me live. So fun to see you. Created a PDF that includes the 7 core parts of a core offer that converts that I teach and sell with heart. And so you can go into Canva, edit the PDF with your offer, your course, your one-on-one, your group, and have that ready to go this week. Like, my intention is that all the strategic energy that I put in, all the energy that my designer put in, you should be able to go in 1 hour and really get your PDF done and ready to go and ready to sell. And I know, again, there's that next level challenge of, oh man, if I buy Anna's template to have my PDF, my program ready to sell in an hour, I don't know if I'm ready to sell it. I don't know if I want to hop on discovery calls. So I just want to like validate that I get that in investing in something like that, there's like the next level fears too. And so know that I'm here for that. Know that you can hop into my DMs or PMs and let me know, right? If you're like, Anna, I do want to sell, I do want to create this PDF, but I'm also nervous about what, right? That next level thing. Okay, but then that means I have to hop on discovery calls and I'm terrified, or that means that whatever it is for you. So know that I'm available to talk with you about that. But I hope you have such a beautiful rest of your Thursday. Don't forget, tomorrow is Friday, so we do our weekend check-in. Stay tuned for that. And I'm going to drop the link for you, but it's annafranzen.com/templates if you want to check out those template sets so that you can save time in your business this week. Okay, my loves. Have a great rest of your day.